floor is yours, sir. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and fellow panelists. I'm honored to bring remarks on behalf of Associated Equipment Distributors, or AED, to the committee this evening. Madam Chair, I also want to publicly recognize your work on construction and infrastructure policy issues over many years, and of course, for taking the time to address our association's membership during their visit to Ottawa during the last Parliament. Your leadership is very appreciated by our members on both sides of the border. AED is the International Trade Association representing companies that sell, rent, service, and manufacture equipment used in construction, mining, forestry, power generation, agriculture, and industrial applications. Products essential to building and maintaining critical infrastructure, including roads, bridges, pipes, and waterways. Additionally, we provide equipment vital to natural resources and agricultural sectors across Canada. Our member companies operate and have locations in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. In Canada, our members have more than 420 locations that employ 27,000 hardworking men and women in rewarding careers. In North America, every year, these predominantly small, medium-sized family-owned businesses generate over $60 billion of revenue. While based in the United States, AED is truly an international trade association. In fact, in 2021, AED's board chair will be an executive from a Canadian-based company. AED has been a leading advocate for modernizing trilateral North American trade agreement, both in Canada and the United States. As a pro-free trade organization, we made the Accord's ratification a top policy priority in Washington. AED worked closely with congressional leaders in a bipartisan manner, and I was honored to be present last month at the White House when the president signed the agreement into law. I'd like to congratulate all parties for their efforts to deliver a trilateral trade agreement that will continue to align Canada, U.S., and Mexican interests. However, it's now time for Canada to join its partners in the United States and Mexico and complete ratification of Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement by swiftly approving and enabling legislation in the House of Commons and ultimately the Senate of Canada to provide much-needed trade certainty for the Canadian equipment sector. The Canadian equipment sector, which relies on cross-border trade between the United States and Mexico, is particularly susceptible to economic uncertainty as essential goods and commerce flow across the southern Canadian border every day, making quick approval vital to our industry's prosperity. Efficient delivery of heavy equipment, machinery, parts, and services helps keep costs low for our customers, the farmers, the road builders, the contractors, and provincial and local governments across the country. Rising costs results in less capital to invest in businesses, employees, and job creation. Delays in product delivery create inefficiencies that postpone major infrastructure projects that benefit Canadian citizens and commerce. CUSMA ratification is a win for all Canadians, and its prompt ratification is essential to the prosperity of the equipment sector. AED believes that CUSMA strikes the right balance between protecting Canada's interests and ensuring the free flow of commerce and goods in North America. We've advocated for a quick resolution of these negotiations, both in Ottawa and in Washington, D.C., and promoted the benefits of reaching a deal quickly in both countries to deliver business confidence, which is a key driver of new investment in the construction, energy, and agriculture sectors. We have made every effort to ensure both Canada and the U.S. are aware of the difficulties that would come from a bad deal or a long and drawn-out process. I'm appearing before you today to appeal to your sense of urgency and underscore the point that we need a resolution quickly. Mexico and the United States have ratified this agreement and are ready to proceed, and AED is calling on parliamentarians to ratify the agreement promptly. If amendments are suggested, the deal will have to be reopened. Businesses operating in natural resources, construction, and agricultural sectors will be facing delays. Stakeholders from across industries have been broadly supportive of concessions made in Canada and the U.S. to arrive at this agreement. It is time to move forward. In closing, I wish to commend the efforts of the Canada's negotiating team for their approach to working with counterparts in the United States and Mexico. I wish to express thanks to members of this committee from all parties who are working to ensure that the agreement receives a comprehensive hearing while also taking measures to ensure it can come into force quickly. By modernizing and strengthening the trade ties between the three countries, CUSMA will help restore predictability and trade certainty to North American equipment markets, creating an environment for greater investment, well-paying jobs, and sustained growth. I thank the committee for your time.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all the witnesses for being here. I'd like to start today with Mr. McGuire. First of all, I want to thank you, sir, for all your work and support in making sure that there is an agreement. We in this committee got to travel down to the United States a few times, and it was really nice to see the support in the American business community to make sure that we did get a deal done. But with that, you made a couple of comments. I just want to kind of correct the record a little bit, that there may be a delay in passing this. And there was a bit of a whisper campaign in Washington saying the Conservatives were trying to slow this down. And I just want, if you're talking to any of your friends down there, just so you know, Conservatives moved this through the House in 6 sitting days. Now that's compared to 16 for the original implementation legislation, which was our Bill C-100. Conservatives offered to do a pre-study back in the spring, but the Liberal government declined before the election to do that. We also offered to come in early in December, and the Liberal government declined that as well. So I just want that to be clear that this will eventually pass, but it's not because of anybody on this side of the table slowing things down. I did want your comment on the Buy American clause, because previously the former Prime Minister, Mr. Harper, was able to get a Canadian exemption to that. Now, my understanding with this agreement, Mexico has an exemption and Canada doesn't. What are your thoughts on that, and what do your members think, given that many of them who buy your equipment do build infrastructure, bid on infrastructure? Do you have comments on this Buy American clause that we did have an opportunity to negotiate it out? This is supposed to be a free trade agreement, but unfortunately we weren't able to be successful.
Certainly, thank you for the opportunity to comment. AED has traditionally opposed such provisions, whether they come up as part of proposals in the U.S. Congress or as part of trade deals. So our stance on those type of provisions is we have not been supportive of them, and we continue that. Most of our equipment is multi-sourced, as you might imagine. So such provisions certainly don't foster good business practices in the equipment sector.
Yeah, well, it was.
Let me say, Associated Equipment Distributors, Mr. McGuire. Mr. McGuire, is this agreement only going to help the equipment manufacturers in U.S., or is it equally going to help the equipment manufacturers in Canada?
Well, we believe the agreement helps both distributors and manufacturers in both countries.
So, yesterday there was a fellows from Saskatchewan, equipment manufacturers. They came in, and they were saying that there are certain new requirements that U.S. brought forward is going to affect their production negatively. Are you aware of a situation like that?
I'm not personally aware of a situation like that. I'd have to research that. But I can tell you that our members have not indicated that. From the equipment standpoint, on the manufacturing or distribution side.
Okay, thank you very